Welcome back to the program, Mom. Zev Brenner. It's our policy that when you have a bar mitzvah boy or a bar mitzvah girl, we let them give their bar or bat mitzvah speech on the radio. I know the North family for so many years. Wonderful, wonderful family, Randy and Debbie North. And Maya did an outstanding job. I went to her bat mitzvah in Shavuos, and she delivered such a beautiful, passionate speech. We said, you know what, even though Shavuos has gone by, but the message resonates all year long. So Maya, Mazel Tov, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And will you share with our audience the wonderful speech that you gave for your bat mitzvah? Go ahead, Maya.
I recently celebrated becoming a bat mitzvah. The moment wasn't just about me. It was about our community, our heritage, and the values that tie us together. When my parents let me, I love watching shows about glamorous people, especially ones where summers are spent in huge houses by the sea with endless parties, gorgeous clothes, and somehow perfect makeup, even after they've been in the pool. Like my brothers and their friends, the boys in those shows think they're very handsome and go to fancy colleges. For my bat mitzvah, I read the book of Ruth in a special women's tefillah service at our shul, Keilath Jeshurun. On the surface, Megillat Ruth isn't about beauty or riches. It's about a woman who loses everything, her husband, her home, and her security. And instead of going back to a royal family in Moab, Ruth chooses to follow her Jewish mother-in-law, Naomi, back to Israel, a place where she has no family, no connections, and no guaranteed future. Naomi had lost her husband and sons, men who had made ethically questionable choices by abandoning their land in its time of need out of greed and marrying outside of the faith. Naomi returns to Israel expecting only shame and poverty. But Ruth, with extraordinary loyalty, says the now famous words, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Ki el asher telchi elach, uvasher talini alin, amich ami v'aich Elohai." As I've traveled with Ruth over the past few months, I've learned that far from being misguided, her statement, and more importantly her actions, embody the essence of loyalty, love, selflessness, and kindness. In studying Megillat Ruth, I've come to see her choice not as foolish, but as hugely meaningful to who we are as Jewish people. Shavuot, which we recently celebrated, is a time of harvest in Israel. It is the wheat fields of Israel that bring Ruth and Boaz together. Naomi and Ruth are poor. Boaz, a relative of both Naomi and her husband, complies with his obligation of leket and allows the poor to glean the fields. The subject of charity and kindness, which roughly translate to chesed, form the foundation of this story and our duties as Jews. Boaz is hyper-focused on protecting Ruth's dignity, making sure she stays safe while collecting the extra wheat in his fields, and finding ways to give her more than just the leftovers. Ruth, on the other hand, is focused on not taking more than her share, not eating more than she needs to satisfy her hunger, and she hurries home to Naomi rather than hang out with Boaz for an after-dinner chat. I understand that my great-grandmother Esther, of blessed memory, after whom I am named, would say to my mom that legacy and royalty are a responsibility and a privilege. I may be starting to understand what she meant. I am fortunate that two of my friends asked me to join them on their chesed project. Once a month, we serve lunch to an elder community in New York. Everyone pays a small amount for lunch, so they're not just getting charity, they're being hosted with dignity. I love meeting and chatting with people. I've found so much joy in getting to know these people. These Sunday mornings don't feel like charity. They feel like an amazing opportunity which I look forward to. In the words of Rabbi Sachs, charity is not merely an act of giving, it is a celebration of our common humanity. I think that is truly what becoming a grown-up is about, finding my place, my opportunity to contribute to that common humanity. Megillat Ruth taught me that the people who make a lasting impact aren't always the ones you'd expect. Yes, King David came from Ruth, but Manasseh, an evil king who sacrificed his own son, is part of the family too. Even King David himself made mistakes, but he confronted them and learned from them. I know I'll make mistakes too, but what matters is what I do next. Another part of preparing for today that meant a lot to me was going to pre-bat mitzvah classes led by Rachel Cross with my mom. I got to learn about strong, smart Jewish women, but Ruth's strength is different from what we usually see. Childless widows have always been among the most vulnerable members of society. Ruth and Naomi were divided by ethnicity. The Israelites and Moabites were long-standing enemies. They had nothing in common but mutual distrust. To me, Ruth is about the simple gestures that transcend differences, the universal language of helping those in need. Ruth is vulnerable, but strong. She's not loud, but she's brave. I think that's what I really admire about her. We read Ruth's story on Shavuot, when we celebrate the giving of the law at Mount Sinai. But society cannot be made by laws alone. It needs something more, the unforced, unlegislated kindness that makes us reach out to others, even if we are lonely and vulnerable ourselves. Society depends on the kindness of strangers. After October 7th, we've seen that in real time. People opened their homes, fed strangers, showed up for one another in ways that reminded me of the spirit of Ruth. Protecting the vulnerable, showing up even when it's scary. Kindness isn't just nice, it's essential. In December of 2023, my family and I traveled to Israel. We helped package oranges and visited injured soldiers in the hospital. I have no idea if we made a difference to anyone, but my family all felt so much better. Ruth's conversion to Judaism is also central to her story. By embracing Naomi's people and faith, Ruth becomes a symbol of inclusion and acceptance. As Rabbi Jonathan Sachs teaches, Judaism is not a religion that exists in isolation, but a faith that is committed to the welfare of humanity. Ruth starts life as a princess of a hostile nation, and ultimately becomes part of the lineage of King David, one of our greatest leaders. The story of Ruth takes place during a period of turmoil and strife in Jewish history, the period of Judges. When Ruth meets Boaz for the first time, he had just returned from the Sanhedrin, where the qualities that the Jewish nation should emulate were discussed. Boaz happens upon Ruth, and he sees her. He sees her, that she has all those qualities and that kindness, loyalty, and love. The qualities that the matriarch of the new royal dynasty should have. I feel fortunate that I got to honor my grandma Ruth by laying Megillat Ruth during Shavuot. As our rabbi at KJ explained in a recent article, names are not just names. At birth, the name parents give their children is a reflection of the hopes they have for them. Later in life, friends use the very same name differently, and now reflects the person's popularity and status. But ultimately, the name that lasts is earned by good deeds, whether or not others notice. And the book of Ruth is very deliberate about its use of names. Our heroine, Ruth, is a leader in kindness and chesed, who was not born with a powerful name. Her actions made her name. Contrast that with the character called Ploni Almoni, which is the rough equivalent to John Doe. It is the biblical equivalent to Anonymous. Ploni Almoni, as Elimelech's brother, is born to greatness. When asked to buy Elimelech's fields, Ploni Almoni initially says yes. But when told he must also marry Ruth, Ploni Almoni changes course and says he cannot, lest I ruin my own estate. Ploni Almoni was concerned that marrying Ruth, a Moabite, would ruin his reputation. She was a poor Moabite woman, and marrying her would undermine his lineage. Amazing how wrong he was. By trying to protect that reputation, he becomes anonymous, and instead, the whole book is named after Ruth. And she becomes the founder of a family far greater than Elimelech's. She wasn't born with a great name. She earned it. When reading Megillat Ruth, I also noticed that when Elimelech died, the book talks about Naomi's husband dying. Why not mention his name? Elimelech had a name associated with power and substance, but that's not how his death is recorded. By the time he dies, Elimelech has only meaning to his wife, and he is remembered only as her husband, and he leaves her destitute. In learning about Ruth, I realized that the choices I make, the actions I take or choose not to take, no matter how inconsequential, will have impact beyond what I expect. I'm truly blessed with a family and friends, a community and teachers that have laid the foundation for my reputation, but ultimately, it's up to me what my name will mean to people. One small decision, one seemingly inconsequential act at a time. Like many of us, I have been deeply impacted by what happened on October 7th, 2023. I just left Israel 3 days earlier, where I had spent the most magical Sukkot visiting my brother Josh in yeshiva. My world was shattered by what I learned had happened, and is continuing to happen every day since, with hostages kidnapped from their homes in Israel still being held by murderous terrorists. When we had the distinct honor of hosting Ari Singer, a retired general of the Israeli Defense Forces, at our house, and he explained the real-life heroism of soldiers and Israeli civilians, all those stories just became so much more real and meaningful to me. And I started thinking of those who are not here to tell their stories anymore. We spent Friday and Yom Tov nights speaking of the Bivas family and expressing our fervent wishes that they come home alive and safe. While Yarden returned home alive and safe, thank God, his wife and kids did not. I want particularly to mention the names of Ariel and Kfir today. They will not have an opportunity to write their own stories or celebrate their bar mitzvahs, but we can continue to keep their names alive. Ariel and Kfir will be remembered. Ruth's story teaches us that who we are isn't just where we come from. It's what we choose to do. She chose loyalty, kindness, and courage. I hope I can too. Thank you for being here today. I promise to try my best to live up to this moment and to the names I carry. In the context of my Bat Mitzvah celebration, I am reminded of the responsibility that comes with being part of a royal lineage. Just as Ruth embraced her role with grace and dedication, I too aspire to embody the values of kindness, loyalty, love in my own life. As I take on the responsibilities of a Bat Mitzvah, I hope to be a source of support and compassion to my family, friends, and community. I recognize that my actions, no matter how small, can make a significant impact on those around me.
Wonderful. Wow. Mazel tov. Mazel tov really did a great job at KJ and also at Little Beach Synagogue. And Maya, may you continue to grow in Judaism, be a source of nachas to your family. And really, this is just the beginning. So we appreciate you sharing your bat mitzvah thoughts and Dvar Torah on the air with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great job. Let me just do this.
Thank you, Zev.
Good. Let me just make sure it came out on video. Hold on. We did it on audio. We have it. Let's just make sure that it came out. Okay, let's look it up because the audio we have. Let me just check the video. Let's go to YouTube and find out. Okay, let's go to YouTube. YouTube. So I use Google Meet more than I use. Okay, let's just see. Let's just watch it.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev.
No,
Just say everyday random news.
what happened? Okay, let's just see. Let's just watch it.